Hi and welcome. My name is Anita Rehome and I'm the financial literacy coach for St. Philip's College. We're going to be talking about being smart about your student loans. So for the previous month, right, for September, we talked about the lowdown in entrance counseling. For those of you who have student loans, you had to complete entrance counseling to receive your federal aid money, which again is the Department of Education. And if you're considering taking out a student loan, definitely look at the video, the lowdown on entrance counseling, so you can understand what entrance counseling is about. You still have to complete entrance counseling to receive your federal aid money. So please make sure, if that's something that you're considering doing when you're transferring over into a foreign university, that you complete the entrance counseling, because without that, you will not receive your money. Okay, so let's just get into it. So this material is not intended to constitute any tax, investment, or legal advice. If you need investment, legal, tax advice, and/or credit counseling, please consult with a professional within those areas. So what do we know about the differences between private and federal student loans, and then keeping track of that debt? Okay, so for those of you who have student loans, do you know how much you've borrowed? And if you know how much you borrowed, like, how do you feel about that, right? How do you feel about what you've borrowed in student loan debt? Statistics tell us that even if you haven't borrowed yet a student loan, it's likely that you will before you graduate. But here's the good news. Student loans are generally considered good debt. In that, you will see a return on your investment. If you need a student loan to achieve your degree, there's a payoff, right? So college graduates earn, on an average, 66% more through their lifetime compared to high school graduates. So that's basically when we talk about a return in your investment, is that you're going to be making more money if you invest in your college degree. Granted, if you're able to get, financial aid, which is like the Pell Grant, and grants is free money. Scholarships is free money. So anything that deals with grants or scholarships of free money, we want you to utilize that before having to take out a student loan. Even though statistics show that 66% more, you'll gain more in your lifetime, does not mean that that comes along with student loan debt. You can continue to pay out of pocket if need be. Many people do it, so we always encourage you to look for grants and scholarships before taking out a student loan. So different types of loans, right? So we're going to be discussing federal and private loans and how can we track each of them. Okay, so a federal loan is a form, or it's from the U.S. Department of Education, right? So you have to complete the free application for federal student aid, which is FAFSA. October 1st was the open of FAFSA, so start filling it out, start filling out your application, submit that, submit it, submit it, submit it. I can't say it enough. It's free, so submit that application. If you get a student loan through the Department of Education, there is a low interest rate, and conditions and benefits are set by the department, the U.S. Department of Education. So first of all, let's talk about the differences of student loans. At a very high level, there are two differences, like we said earlier. There is a federal and private, and you can have a combination of these. So you can have federal and you can have private. Federal student loans are from the U.S. Department of Education. They are direct unsubsidized loan and subsidized loans and plus loans and Perkins loans. But it's very important to understand that under the federal law, the authority of schools to make new Perkins loans ended in September 30th of 2017. And the final disbursements were permitted through June 30th of 2018. So as a result, students can no longer receive the Perkins loans. So for those of you who already have student loans, previously, like if you're coming back to school and you have a Perkins loans, that is no longer available for anybody to try to receive moving forward past 2017. If you get a student federal loan, you can go through your college. So you'd come through here through SPC, and you're required to complete the free application for federal student aid before applying for that loan. Federal student loans are often have a low interest rate compared to private student loans. Something else to keep in mind is that federal student loans have better conditions and benefits when having to repay back. So, right, they have repayment plans, they have forgiveness, they have lower interest rates, and they're regulated by the U.S. Department of Education. And they're the same borrower every year. So for those of you who have private loans, that's usually through a banking institution, so like a brick and mortar. They do not offer repayment plans. They do not offer lower interest rates because all of that is considered based off your credit score, right? So we're going to be going into another presentation later on in the semester talking about how credit can affect if needing to borrow, whether a student loan through a private banking institution or even a loan for a car or wanting to get out a credit card. So we'll be getting into that later on. But let's move forward. So don't forget, fill out your application for FAFSA that opened October 1st. So how do you track your federal student loans? So there's the studentaid.gov. And so the U.S. Department of Education central database is the student aid. Your school, the federal direct loan program, and the U.S. Department of Education will submit the information about your student loan to this database. You can also directly access this information again at the studentaid.gov, and you're going to use your FSA ID to log into this system. So, which is the same login information that you used to complete your FAFSA. So if you have a student loan and you want to see what you took out from the Department of Education, you go to this website and you log in with your FAFSA credentials. If you took out a private loan, this database will not have that loan for you. Okay, so it's very important that you track that private loan yourself. The studentaid.gov only tracks any type of student loans that you received from the Department of Education that is a federal student loan, okay? So on this website, you're definitely going to find information about your federal student loan, how much you borrowed, if you also received any Pell Grants, so you'll have your Pell Grant history, and you can find out how much you borrowed, your interest rate, who your loan servicer is, and if you have any questions like how to contact your loan servicer and to start communicating with them. So if you have any trouble, then this is the website that you want to go to verify all of that information. Also verify how much money you've taken out, right? If you only took out 5,000 and it's reporting 10, why, right? So you need to stay on top of it. You need to be the keeper of this because this can get out of hand. Student loans can get out of hand very quickly, right? Because if you never visually see how much you're taking out every semester or every year, this can quickly get out of hand. So what are private student loans? Again, so private education loans are different and they come directly from lending institutions such as banks and credit unions. The interest rate from a private student loan will depend on a variety of factors, including your credit history. It may be a fixed rate, it may be a variable rate. So a fixed rate, you know, let's just say the interest rate is going to stay at 10%, right? A variable is going to fluctuate. If you don't have much history with credit and repayment, more than likely you're going to need a co-signer for a private education loan. So this is somebody who is going to sign the application with you and promise to pay the loan back if you don't or cannot pay that back. If you don't complete the FAFSA, or you don't have to complete the FAFSA in order to get a private loan through a banking institution. But also keep in mind that private education loan conditions and benefits vary. So again, they don't offer repayment plans like federal student loans. They require repayment every month, where federal loans have the actual deferment, in-school deferment. So if you're in school, you don't make a payment. If it's a subsidized loan, you know, you don't get charged interest. Where a banking institution is going to be like, okay, Anita, you have to start making these payments of $130 every month for this student loan. Well, then you have to think about, well, why did I take out the student loan in the beginning? Because I don't have money, I don't have a job. Can I afford to make this monthly payment to a bank every month? So those are things that you really need to consider, okay? And then again, how do you track private student loans? The best source of information for tracking and verifying private education loans will be the lending institution from which you borrow the money. If you don't remember from what bank or credit union you borrow that money or loan from, you should have a copy of the promissory note you signed or a possible email corresponding information about that loan. Most lenders have an online system for tracking your loan. So when you take out a private education loan, make sure that you ask the loan servicer about accessing your loan details online. Is there a website that I can go to? Is it through just the normal banking institution? Do I need to create an account if I'm let's say that I got a loan from Wells Fargo and I don't bank with Wells Fargo. Can I still access that information online? Do I need to create an account? Do I need to be a member of your banking institution to view this information? So those are things that you definitely want to ask about, and making sure that you have copies of the promissory note that you signed with the banking institution, as well as, again, how to access it. It's very, very important. And finally, your credit report will help you verify the details of any private education loans that you receive, as well as any type of loans that you receive, credit cards, right? The credit report is a kind of like a grade report of everything that you've taken out under your name, from credit card debt to having somebody check your credit for a car or a home. This is a grade report, a money report per se, on what you've taken out and have you been responsible to pay that information, or, you know, those loans back and credit cards back. So keeping track of debt. So why is it important to track your loans? So if you don't track your student loans, there can be negative consequences, such as not knowing who to contact when you need help, especially if you're having difficulty making those payments, as well as just accessing the information. It's like, okay, well, who's my service loan provider? So again, studentaid.gov. If it's a federal loan, go to studentaid.gov and you log in with your FAFSA credentials. Again, if you're having trouble or difficulty obtaining access to the online information because you don't know the details of your loan, then you can have missed payments, you can go into loan default, and then it can cause some credit negativity on your credit report. So it's important because it's possible that you could be paying on a student loan bill every month, only to find out that you've been missing all along another payment you owed but hadn't really carefully tracked, like a private loan. So those are things that you definitely need to keep track of. I would highly suggest, if for any reason you need to take out a student loan, you take out a student loan from the Department of Education versus a private loan, because it's accessible information online through the studentaid.gov. And if you're not very good or organized, you guys, and let's just be true, there are times that I'm not organized, you know, and so we want to make sure that you are keeping track of those things, because they are important and they do affect you in the long run if you miss a payment. So one thing that I really want you to think about, if you miss a payment with the Department of Education, how long does it take for you to go into default? That's 270 days of non-payment before you go into default status, where they then send your information in to the credit report, to a credit bureau, and put you into collections. So some resources, again, we have the National Student Loan Database, which is at the studentaid.gov, using your FAFSA credentials to log in. Then we have the loan stimulators. So, right, you go to the studentaid.gov /loan-stimulator /, and that's just to kind of give you an idea of, like, if you take out a loan, like how much, what all that is going to entail, as well as the repayment loan, the student loan repayment calculator, how much your payments are going to be. Another good website that I would definitely suggest that you go to is the Occupational Outlook Handbook, which is at www.dls.gov/OOH. The reason for that being is, what if you get a degree that doesn't make really good money? And I know people are like, okay, but I'm going to take out this $100,000 loan to get this, you know, master's in, you know, knitting, right? Are there a lot of jobs in knitting, guys? No, there's not. So are you going to take out a $100,000 loan to get a degree in knitting? You guys, no. So that could be more of a hobby, right? But we really want you to think about the education or the type of degree that you're wanting compared to what you're borrowing when it comes to student loans, because is it going to be a return in your investment? Are you going to get a return? So that's very, very important. I'm not saying pick a job to be a doctor, you know, and being a doctor is something that you don't want to do. I'm not saying that. You just need to be smart about borrowing money, especially when it comes to your education, and not to over borrow. So these are some really great resources to use. So at the beginning of the session, we talked about student loans, about federal and private, and how to borrow wisely. Again, at the end, we're talking about borrowing wisely. Only take out what you owe. Don't over take out. So borrow wisely if you need to, and think about student loans as an investment into your future, but also utilizing the occupational handbook to see what field you're going into and what the potential of making money is in that field. How high of a salary can I make, and can I afford to pay back my student loan? So those are things we want you to consider, okay? So again, if y'all have any questions, my name is Anidal Rehome, and I am the financial literacy coach here at St. Philip's College. You can contact me at 210-486-2140, or you can email me at erehome@alamo.edu, and that's EREHOME@alamo.edu. Y'all have a great day. If y'all have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, especially for those of you who have student loans. It's very important that you start to understand and start navigating these waters, because if you continue to take out student loans, whether here at SPC or when you transfer into a four-year university, that you understand the language that's being discussed with you when your loan servicer calls you and talks about repayment. Again, y'all reach out to me. Y'all have a great day. Thank you, and have a good one.